think we were both headed in the right direction.
Downhill.
Downhill. We're both over the hill, so there's
Yeah.
that.
Coasting.
Yeah. Oh man. All right, well, shall we kick it in gear?
Let's go.
Alrighty. Well, hey, welcome back to another episode of Road Noise. Hey, every week we just comment that we're glad you're here joining us, and that is always true. We're just appreciating those of you that dial in, listen, and kind of share along with these stories with us. And if you're finding that these are just an encouragement to you or a blessing, we just love it that you share it with somebody. Let them know that you found this interesting, or there's some fun stories to kind of reflect um, on God's faithfulness for sure, but also just a different time in ministry and how that ministry has changed over the years. And you can see God's faithfulness throughout all of that change. So I'm excited to see where we're going tonight. Dad and I haven't really talked about what's on the map for tonight, but it's always going to be a good ride. So I'm looking forward to where we're headed.
All right. Well, we're not going to leave Michigan on this episode anyway. Going to head a little ways north in Michigan, but I'd like to tell you a story of getting to a church. And back in those days, we didn't have GPS or anything, and so we used an atlas and would ask the church to send us a diagram of a map, basically, as to how to find the church. And of course has the church address on there. And we got to the church, getting ready to pull in, and I'm looking around, and we're at the right address. And it kind of looks like a church building, but there's no sign out front. And there's not only a sign not out front of the church, but there's no sign on the church. And so if it wasn't for the address, I wasn't sure that we were at the right location. But I go in, meet the pastor and everything. Yep, this is the right place. And we all pitched in and got everything set up and did the program that morning. And we're to be there for the evening service as well. So after the morning program, pastor says, yeah, we'd like to have you over to our house, the parsonage, which was right next door to the church, for lunch. Well, it's kind of amazing some of the things that you learn having lunch with a pastor. So we're sitting there, and he tells us the story of he had only been at the church for a few months. And when he got to the church, the sign was laying on the ground. And so after he got there, he quickly removed the sign and drug it to the back of the church, but didn't put the sign back up. Because apparently there had been a congregational meeting on a Sunday evening before he got there, and things got a little bit out of hand. And in fact, it got way out of hand to the point that somebody called the police. And before the police got there, some of these saints had gone outside and physically broke the sign off and left it lay right there on the ground. So when he got there, the sign had not been moved from the time that the church had this congregational meeting. Well, when the police got there, by the time they got there, the sign's laying on the ground, and apparently there was an actual fist fight brawl going on inside the building. You can just about imagine what the newspaper articles were all about on Monday in this little town. And so when he got there and learned what had happened, he figured, it might be best just to leave the sign down. Because anytime anybody drives past here, it's just going to be a reminder of, yep, this is the fighting church. And so the sign was left down. I thought that was probably a wise thing to do in those situations. The other thing he shared with me is that when he got there, he told the board that he was going to be joining a basketball team. The church wasn't going to have a basketball team, but he was going to find one to join, and he did. And he's on this men's basketball team, but they're not a church team. And he told me that his purpose for joining the team was just to get to know some men in the community, to build relations with them, and he intentionally did not tell them that he was the pastor of a church, because if he did, they would ask, "What church?" And then he'd have to tell them, and they would automatically know, "Oh yeah, the fighting church." And so he was just going to keep that a secret, but he knew that it would just be a matter of time until the relationship with these men would be such that he would be able to share in their burdens, that they would have questions that he'd be able to counsel with them about and find out where they're at spiritually, with the ultimate goal of leading these men to the Lord. And he told me, he says, Sheldon, you're not gonna find unsaved people getting saved if you're not around unsaved people. And when I heard that, it's like, wow, this guy's exactly right. We need to have friends. We need to have people in our lives that are not believers. We need to show them that we're interested in the things that concern them, and build that relationship to the point where they're free to talk to us when they have problems. And build that relationship to the point where we can ask them where they are at spiritually. And so I think that's the encouragement I would like to leave with everybody tonight, is to look around and look at your friend base. Hopefully you've got a lot of Christian friends, because Christian friendship and that fellowship, we all need that encouragement. But we also need to have friends that are not believers and be involved in their lives on a regular basis if we're ever going to win them for the Lord. So take a look. See where you stand. Maybe join a basketball team.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great reminder. And as you were telling that back half of that story, Dad, it reminded me of this will quickly jump to mind, but the repeat and repeat verse of "Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature." So, this
Yep.
idea of like you got to go where the people are that need to hear about the love of Christ. And yeah, that's what a great reminder. And you're
It's
planting those
interesting.
seeds that years ago, and they're coming right back to my mind. So
Yeah. It's kind of interesting. We've been past that, gone through that town several times since. And the last time we were there still wasn't a sign up. I trust the church is still going and going strong, but if you want to go, I could give you the address. But if there's a sign there when you get there, great. If not, don't worry about it. The
yeah,
pastor's
yeah,
doing the right thing.
right. Yep, yep, yeah. That's good. That's a good reminder. Well, hey, this has been a little fun trip back down memory lane, and feels like this might be a good place to park it.
All right. We'll see you next week.
Sounds great.